And welcome back to the channel. Let me get down here just a little bit. So my name is Dr. Strong, and today I'm going to be talking about why sourdough bread is actually healing your gut while regular bread destroys it. So this one type of bread can actually heal your gut and improve your digestion, while regular bread destroys your intestinal lining and feeds harmful bacteria. The difference comes down to an ancient fermentation process that transforms wheat from a gut destroyer into a gut healer. This is something that's been lost. And can you guess what it is? Obviously you can by the title. It's real sourdough bread, but not the fake stuff that you buy at the store. I'm Dr. Todd Strong, and what I'm about to reveal to you will completely change how you think about bread and gluten. So, if you've been avoiding all bread because you think it's bad for your gut, or if you've been told you're gluten intolerant and can never eat wheat again, this video could be life-changing. I know my sister loves bread, and so getting her the right types of bread really makes a huge difference in inflammation, her weight, hormones, everything. And the truth is, the problem isn't necessarily wheat or gluten. It's what modern food processing has done to bread. But there's one type of bread that can actually support your gut health, and I'm going to show you exactly why. Let's talk about the bread revolution backstory. And make sure you stay till the end, because I'm going to go over, how to utilize this bread and how to put it into your lifestyle where you're not having to worry about gut issues, inflammation, and food intolerances. So for thousands of years, humans ate fermented grains without the digestive problems we see today. Our ancestors didn't have gluten sensitivity, wheat allergies, or the epidemic of gut issues we're facing now. So what changed? In the 1960s, the food industry revolutionized bread production with something called the Corley wood bread process. This allowed them to make bread in 3 hours instead of the traditional 12 to 24 hours of fermentation. They added a few things: commercial yeast for rapid rising, dough conditioners and preservatives, high-speed mixing that damages gluten proteins, bleached refined flour which strips the bread of nutrients. And so the result from this was that bread that looks the same but is completely different at a molecular level. This modern bread is what's destroying people's guts, not the bread itself. So the sourdough fermentation miracle. Real sourdough bread undergoes a completely different process that transforms wheat into a gut healing food. Here's the fermentation process. Wild yeast and beneficial bacteria lactobacilli work together for 12 to 24 hours. These microorganisms pre-digest the wheat proteins and starches. They break down gluten into smaller, more digestible peptides. They neutralize anti-nutrients like phytic acid and lectins, and they create beneficial compounds that weren't there before. So what happens during fermentation? Gluten gets broken down. The long fermentation particularly breaks down gluten proteins, making them less inflammatory and easier to digest. This reduces phytic acid, which blocks mineral absorption and is reduced up to 90%. Then lectin neutralization. Harmful lectins that can damage the gut lining are neutralized. Prebiotic creation. The fermentation creates prebiotic compounds that feed beneficial gut bacteria. And then nutrient enhancement. B vitamins, folate, and antioxidants are actually increased during fermentation. This is why you see that all these foods now that are processed are fortified with these vitamins and minerals, because they take them out. So this is why people who can't tolerate regular bread often have no problems with real sourdough. Here's the awesome part: the gut healing benefits. Benefit number one is improved digestibility. The fermentation process pre-digests proteins and starches, making them easier for you to digest, for your digestive system to handle. And it's like having external digestion before the bread even reaches your stomach. Benefit number two is the prebiotic effect. Sourdough fermentation creates resistant starch and other prebiotic compounds that feed your beneficial gut bacteria. Unlike regular bread that feeds harmful bacteria, sourdough feeds the good guys. And then benefit number three is lower glycemic impact. The fermentation process changes the starch structure, resulting in a lower glycemic index, which is great for our diabetics and minor neuropathy patients. And this means less blood sugar spikes and better metabolic health. Benefit number 4 is that enhanced mineral absorption by reducing phytic acid. Sourdough allows you to actually absorb the minerals in the grain. Iron, zinc, magnesium, and calcium become more bioavailable. Benefit number 5 is the anti-inflammatory properties. The beneficial bacteria in sourdough produce compounds that have anti-inflammatory effects in your gut, helping to heal rather than harm your intestinal lining. Benefit number 6 is the microbiome support. Real sourdough contains live beneficial bacteria that can contribute to your gut microbiome diversity. It's like eating a probiotic food. Here's the fake sourdough deception where you need to be careful. 95% of sourdough bread in stores is fake sourdough that won't give you these benefits. It contains commercial yeast instead of wild fermentation, vinegar or citric acid to mimic the sour taste, rapid production 3 to 4 hours instead of 12 to 24, and then the same preservatives and additives as regular bread. No actual fermentation benefits. How do you identify a real sourdough? Ingredients should only be flour, water, salt, and sourdough starter. No commercial yeast listed. No vinegar or citric acid. Made by artisan bakeries with long fermentation process. And then often more expensive due to time-intensive process. So you're paying for your health. You just have to think about it like that. Like, you could suffer with all these problems and develop all these digestive problems, or maybe you're spending just a little bit extra. You can still enjoy bread, but you're not going to suffer the consequences, and you'll probably get fuller too. So, and it has a complex tangy flavor, not just sour. So the real test, real sourdough will mold in 3 to 5 days without preservatives. If your sourdough lasts weeks, it's fake. So the gluten sensitivity revelation, here's something that will shock you. Many people who think they're gluten intolerant can actually eat real sourdough without bread without problems. Why this happens? Modern wheat contains different gluten proteins than ancient varieties. Industrial processing damages gluten structure, making it more inflammatory. Rapid fermentation doesn't break down problematic proteins. And then peptide residues like glyphosate may be the real culprit. Gut dysbiosis makes people more sensitive to poorly processed foods. So this is why, especially, I'm seeing more 20, 30, 40-year-olds that are really suffering from gut issues and like systemic neuropathy problems. So here's the solution. Long fermentation breaks down most problematic gluten proteins. Beneficial bacteria neutralize inflammatory compounds. Ancient grain sourdough, spelt, einkorn, are even better tolerated, and the slower digestion reduces immune system reactions. I've had patients who couldn't eat bread for a year successfully reintroduce real sourdough without symptoms. The key is starting with small amounts and ensuring it's authentic sourdough. Now, you may be wondering, what's the research behind this? So, study number 1 is published in the Applied Environmental Microbiology, which showed sourdough fermentation reduced gluten immunoreactivity by up to 97% compared to regular bread. Study number 2, the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition, found that sourdough bread had significantly lower glycemic response and better satiety compared to regular bread. And I actually did a video on this where I had a CGM and compared those, so you can go check that out. Study number 3 was the Journal of Agriculture and Food Chemistry, showed that sourdough fermentation increased antioxidant activity and bioavailable nutrients. This is where people get off. Like I just had somebody say the other day that milk is the highest bioavailable calcium, or that's where you get calcium, and that's not true. It's actually a lot less bioavailable than like in green leafy vegetables. Study number 4, patients with IBS showed better tolerance and fewer symptoms when eating sourdough compared to regular bread. Study number 5, sourdough consumption was associated with improved gut microbiome diversity and increased beneficial bacteria populations. The research consistently shows that the fermentation process fundamentally changes bread from a gut irritant to a gut supporter. So, how to make your own sourdough? The best ways to ensure you're getting real sourdough is to make it yourself. Here's the basic process. You can create a starter. You mix equal parts of flour and water. Leave it at room temperature, feeding daily with fresh flour and water. After 5 to 7 days, it should be bubbly and smell pleasantly sour, not too much sour. This contains wild yeast and beneficial bacteria from the environment. So mix starter with flour, water, and salt. Let it ferment for 12 to 24 hours at room temperature. The longer the fermentation, the more gut benefits. Shape and bake, no commercial yeast needed. Pro tips is that you want to use organic unbleached flour when possible. Ancient grains like spelt or einkorn are even more digestible. The starter gets better with age. Some are decades old. So maintain your starter by feeding it regularly, and then time investment with this, usually about a week for the initial starter creation. Daily maintenance is only 5 minutes. And then bread making, 30 minutes active time, 24 hours in total. So this is something, definitely take it with a grain of salt. This is just a very simple process. You may want to go explore that on another channel. I don't have any off the top of my head, but I just kind of want to lay the basics out for you. So choosing the right flour. And I'm going to get over like what you should do for SIBO and those types of things if you do have those issues. But best options are the einkorn, which is an ancient wheat with a different gluten structure, highly digestible. Spelt, ancient grain with more nutrients and better tolerance. Organic whole wheat, if you can find heritage varieties. And then rye, naturally lower in gluten and great for fermentation. You want to avoid conventional wheat, high pesticide residues, bleached flour stripped of nutrients, enriched flour, synthetic vitamins added back, and then high gluten bread flour, harder to digest. So the organic difference, which there is a lot of ambiguity with this, is that organic grains have lower pesticide residues, particularly glyphosate, which may be a major factor in gluten sensitivity and gut problems. So sourdough for different gut conditions. For SIBO, start with small amounts of well-fermented sourdough. Choose lower FODMAP flours like spelt. Eat with digestive enzymes if needed, and then monitor your symptoms carefully. For leaky gut, the anti-inflammatory compounds in sourdough can help heal the gut lining. Start slowly and build a tolerance. So if you're getting gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, be careful. Combine with other gut healing foods, which I have all of those in other videos. And then for candida, choose whole grain sourdoughs for lower glycemic impact because that feeds that yeast that sugar does. Avoid sweet sourdough varieties and monitor blood sugar response accordingly. You can use a CGM for that. And then for general gut health, include 1 to 2 slices of real sourdough daily. Use as a prebiotic food to feed beneficial bacteria and combine with healthy fats and proteins for balanced meals. So in closing, remember not all bread is created equal. While industrial bread can destroy your gut, real sourdough can actually heal it. Our ancestors knew something we forgot, that fermentation transforms food into medicine. Don't let the modern food industry rob you of this ancient superfood. I'm Dr. Todd Strong, and I'll see you in the next video where I'll reveal the one morning ritual that can reset your entire digestive system. Thank you so much for watching this. Hopefully you find that my videos are helpful. Hopefully these little guides help kind of outline everything for you so you can take better notes. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. We're getting so close to my goal of 10,000 subscribers, and my goal is to help as many people as possible with these videos. So if you have any feedback, I would love to hear it, whether it's positive or constructive, preferably not negative. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye.